Welcome to Perspectives, where we take a deep dive into the issues of the day and where we take a look at people's opinion on such issues. I am Ruth Osime.
And I am Olatorera Majekodunmi-Oniru, your co-host on Perspectives every Saturday on Arise TV. Today's topic is family secrets, murder, health complications, bizarre traditions, and financial woes. To reveal or not reveal. We have two special guests coming up and very interesting discussions, so stay tuned.
The British royal family has become practically synonymous with its famous motto, never complain, never explain. When a family is very famous, washing their dirty linen in public is eminently marketable, providing the confessor with a substantial revenue from book sales or tell-all interviews, as is the case with the whole Prince Harry and Meghan saga. According to the Guinness World Records, Prince Harry's book Spare was the fastest non-selling fiction book ever on its first day of publication. The revelations in Harry's book humanized the royal family, demonstrating that even those amongst the highest realms of society are affected by family drama and mental health challenges. Aside from the obvious financial benefits, a book this brutally frank has pushed Harry further from the fold, as the book did not just spill the tea on life in the royal household, it smashed the entire golden gilded teapot. But in trying to save himself from the persecution of false narratives by going public, one wonders whether the prince has also not sacrificed himself. Whether the publication and numerous interviews granted is worth losing his family over remains to be seen. People who confess something shameful about their family are often perceived as brave and honest, which indeed they probably are. Keeping family secrets carried over generations can be somewhat suffocating, especially when the effects of its revelation can be more destructive to the family than the secret itself. So the big question is, when it comes to revealing family secrets, especially here in Nigeria, where public image and perception remain sacrosanct, is it better to keep sealed lips and maintain the status quo, or spill the beans and damn the consequences?
Big questions indeed. Any sudden discovery of family secrets can be traumatic and highly displacing. When certain humans want to start a new life, they cancel out their entire past. We've heard of a woman that killed her husband, put all 4 children in an orphanage, changed her looks, reversed her age, and assumed a new name and a much younger identity. She moved to another country, remarried, and started a new life, while steadfastly keeping her past life and former family a deep, haunting secret. What happened when her husband became suspicious from her years of contradictory lies? Can secrets really be hidden forever? If there's a chance secrets can be uncovered, should you strategically reveal in ways that would lessen traumatic responses from your family and the public? Let's consider another true story of a man whose biography seemed very realistic. Raised in a typical middle-class family, schooled abroad, was a top honor student, was president of an association, worked for Fortune 500 companies, relocated to his home country, married, had children, and lived happily ever after. Well, not quite. At the age of 85, weakened with mental and physical health complications, he began facing significant identity allegations, which led to the public background checks that revealed obvious discrepancies in his biography, from his date of birth to his location of birth, from his school to his Fortune 500 experience. His entire identity prior to the age of 40 was a total mystery. From his real name to his real age, nothing was adding up, and there were no pictorial evidence or video witnesses to his life before the age of 40. His real gender, his mother, his siblings, his sources of wealth were questioned. His entire past seemed shrouded in well-guarded secrets. No one in his family was willing to speak up. Someone in his family must know the real truth, or do they? To reveal or not to reveal? Let's watch this special report, Perspectives. We'll be right back with our usual co-hosts discussion.
Keeping family secrets can create a toxic environment that can poison the whole family. Sometimes, it can be extremely harmful, which can lead to anxiety, shame, trust issues, resentment, stress, and in extreme cases, lead to the use of addictive substances as a coping mechanism. A few examples of secrets that can truncate the bond families share include parents who abuse kids from a tender age. Abuse could be in form of molestation, rape, or even the incest between siblings. In some cases, internal secrets known by some and not others creates subgroupings, drawing lines between those who know and those left unaware. The emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual impact of secrets are well documented. In fact, research suggests that keeping secrets can significantly boost stress hormones, impact blood pressure, inhibit sleep, contribute to mental health and substance use disorders, and even increase chronic pain. There is also societal pressure to sweep things under the carpet, especially when the secrets will tarnish the image of the family. Today on Perspectives, we will be discussing the long-term damage keeping family secrets can cause. Is anything worth covering up or keeping from a spouse and children? How does one deal with situations that can put the family's relationship on the line, especially when regarded as a taboo?
You know, when you hear of family secrets, you just think, okay, there are some secrets that are so profound that you even wonder how the family can survive it. You know, like when the guests come to, I'm going to discuss a few issues and whatever. But concerning in Harry's case, I'm still in two minds whether I'm pro Harry and Meghan or anti. I'm sort of in the middle of the road because I believe that belonging to the most famous family in the world, there's certain unspoken rules that should apply. In other words, you can talk about certain things, but you have to have a limit as to how much you can reveal, so to speak.
Yeah, so like sticking to tradition, sticking to...
Well, I mean...
Not revealing certain things that have gone on in...
The tradition of the royal family is obviously, as time goes on, becoming more and more unrealistic and maybe somewhat outdated. So I can understand that, you know, I can understand their motto, never complain, never explain. But I feel that in the Harry's case, his pain is much more deeply embedded because of the loss of his mother and not being taken care of or being advised or being protected or being taught how to heal.
So from my opinion, Harry married a very liberal woman who was raised in a free society where she could speak her mind and just be herself. Mm-hmm. And I think he genuinely and honestly embraced that lifestyle where he could just be free and be himself.
But his mother is...
I know a lot of people are opposed that. So I understand your viewpoint.
Being free doesn't really apply here. He was born into that position.
I understand.
And trained.
Yeah, I'm just trying to give my opinion on what I think.
I understand what you're saying.
So, because Meghan was so liberal and she had this very open viewpoint and just wanted to just express herself in the way that she...
Don't you think that Meghan too should have been a bit compromising? At least that's what relationships are all about.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that he now embraced it. So he enjoyed that life. He's like, oh my God, so I can actually just be myself, write what I want to write, say what I want to say, and have some sort of freedom.
His grandmother is the Queen of England. He is a prince.
That's why he was ready to be sort of exiled from the family. That's why he moved to the United States.
I feel it's a high price to pay.
But then there's also that thin line between finding your true happiness and living your life for yourself and not for your ancestors or your parents or for other people. I genuinely think he found very good happiness in his relationship with Meghan.
I'm just saying that when you're born into a certain type of family, certain things are expected of you. That does not mean that you will not have your flaws like everybody else.
I understand you
But
too.
Harry cannot think like the average person.
Right.
Because he is not the average person.
Well, people prefer the depressed Harry or the Harry that met a woman that made him very happy and they're living their best life.
We'll discuss that when the guests come. Because this same family that you say are oppressing, suppressing, and making you unhappy are the same family that you have made hundreds of millions out of. So at the end of the day, let's weigh the balance.
Generating their own income when they separated.
Hello, if it wasn't Harry, Queen Elizabeth's grandson, he will not
have been able to
command
make
those
that.
kind of fees.
Well, he's fortunate, so let's thank God he's fortunate.
But if he's fortunate, then he should not focus on the unfortunate side and focus more on the fortunate side. You find a balance.
Focus more on the fortunate side.
Yeah, well, let's find. He will try and find it. He should try and find a balance. Anyway, we're heading for a short break, but stay with us because when we return, it will be time to welcome our guests, Stephanie, Kadiri, and Amaka and Mbonu. Perspectives will return in just a moment.
It's come to that time when we introduce our guests for today. And first off is Stephanie Kadiri, a certified life coach and an emotional intelligence expert with approximately 2 decades of experience. She also works as a psychotherapist, corporate instructor, and transformational speaker. Stephanie's company, Steph Red, skillfully inspires individuals, teams, and focus groups to position themselves for endless possibilities. She empowers people with the ability to overcome life's hurdles and live to tell their stories. Her constant charge is never give up until you win. And at the very worst, finish strong. Great to have you on Perspective, Stephanie.
Thank you so much.
And joining Stephanie for the discussion is Amaka Mbonu, a certified counselor with a special interest in couples counseling, a premarital counselor, a cognitive behavioral therapist, and the founder of Amaka's Book Club, a book club that reads books that deal solely with marriage and relationships. She's also the author of 6 books: How to Get Your Wife to Swing from the Chandelier, in a Red Negligee, 49 Ways to Get Rid of the Other Woman Without Getting Caught, Before, When, and After, Where Did You Put Your Organ, Chronicles of Joy Through Pain, and 12 and 2 more. She carries keys of wisdom to unlock people's minds and hearts through the power of her own testimony. Amaka has spoken on diverse, multiple speaking platforms, locally and internationally, and featured on radio and television programs across the globe with one primary message and mantra: marriage takes to make it work. Marriage takes work to make it work. So let's get to work. She has been married for 30 years, has 2 young children. It's a pleasure to have you here with us, Amaka. You know? So anyway, Stephanie, let's start with you first. You know this issue of Harry and Meghan versus the royal family. And Harry, as we all know, had a very horrible time when his mother died. And he's still carrying that pain all the way up to today. But the thing is that he was a spare, or he sees himself as a spare. But there have been spares before him. Andrew was the same with Charles, and going back and back and back. So how best do you think in a spare, that's the brother of a royal, of a king, how best do you think they can handle their position? And do you also think Harry would ever heal from this pain? Because a lot of his reactions today, there's still that underlying factor that he hasn't quite recovered from his mother's death. And this is also somewhat leading him into a tunnel, albeit that he now has Meghan to support him along the way. So how would you advise somebody like him to deal with this immeasurable pain that doesn't seem to be going anywhere?
Okay, so I think I'm going to come from I always like to come from devil's advocate perspective. But let me first say that the choice of healing is a choice. It's a choice that we have to make, because when we choose not to heal, we choose to remain victims of life.
But does anybody choose not to heal? Who wants to be in pain forever?
The choice to heal is to move beyond the hurt.
Yeah, but the question is, how do you do that?
How do you do that? The only way to move beyond the hurt is to have a more compelling thing to run to have a more compelling reason. Because if we're going to say he's hurting, let's not forget that William also lost a mother.
But they're 2 different beings.
William lost a mother. Yes, William is the heir to the throne, but let's not forget, because sometimes we think that it's the person that is vocal about it that hurt most. Now, while we express or go through the emotions differently, we shouldn't downplay the person that doesn't speak. Because the person could also be hurting deeply, but has found something to anchor on. So the thing now is, what has Harry chosen to anchor on? That is one thing.
One would assume Meghan.
Let's assume it's Meghan. The thing now is anchoring on Meghan, what is the long term of that? What is the long term of everything that he's going through? Because one of the strongest things that can keep you through the process, through the pain, is something to work towards too. That is your encourager. That is your reason. That is your strong anchor. If there's nothing there, we're just firing from a place of hurt, and everyone is the villain. I am the victim, and I'm just going to act like I feel.
But don't you believe he can reveal his true self, his true identity, come out of that hurt without being so public? Without hurting other people in return.
Absolutely. I think that's where he could have done better. Probably if he knew better. And knowing better is now, because we have this thing, and I'll just say the way it is. Let me tell it the way it's doing me, right? But my people say, no be as boy it is crash person, it is crash, I'm just crash anyhow your wound. Let me say it in English. You do not respond to things with the gravity with which they present themselves. Otherwise, you will hurt yourself. So based on the fact that, yes, I am hurting, what is the long term of this hurt? If I'm going to reveal, what do I stand to lose? What do I stand to gain? I want to believe that one of the strongest allies he could have had, assuming that because when their mother died, they were together, him and William. So the thing now is, yes, you have found a Meghan at the cost of your brother.
Yeah.
Yes, you have found a Meghan at the cost of a greater good. Because the thing of stooping to conquer, it's not about throwing the towel and just make us scatter everything, which is that kind of behavior. Scatter everything now, because that is how you feel in the present. In 10 years' time, when you probably no longer feel that way, would you look back and regret?
Do you think that Meghan would have played a better role in managing this crisis?
So my part for Meghan, interestingly, is I think she lost a great opportunity to change the narrative.
I think so too.
Because I remember the day they got married. I mean, the whole world was like, oh, we now have a person of color in the house. We have a black choir singing and all of that. Yes, there are still the issues of racism, but then resilience could have let her know it is stooping to conquer. It is having a strategy, because you can't break down a system, a monarchical system of years by just a protest.
But at that time, she had been so weakened by this entire system.
So let me give an example of what she said when she said her baby is so brown. Let me say that. Okay. And I'll just use that. And
how brown could the baby have been?
How brown could be?
She's already mixed race.
So, the baby is brown.
There were just too many people against her.
But even if life is about resilience, wherever it is she's coming from, life is about resilience. See, my son came to me the other day and said, Mommy, someone said my mouth is so small. I said, what did you tell them? I said, I just ignore them. I said, next time, why is your mouth so small? I said, next time, don't ignore them. Ask them why their mouth is so big. Because when we don't know how to respond, we feel like we're not good enough.
But if you look at
so someone comes and says, oh, how brown is your baby? So brown enough. Brown enough to be beautiful.
Meghan responded so many times. She was extremely resilient.
It's very easy. Let's use an example of Maya Angelou.
How much more do you want her to take?
Let's talk about Maya Angelou. How much did she have to take? Now, it's easy when she comes out and is able to give those words. We can use her as a reference.
Angela was so independent.
How much did
Meghan was an assistant that wanted to crucify her.
Mandela have to take?
Exactly.
Mandela wanted it. Mandela foresaw it.
So the thing
Mandela was ready for it.
Because he foresaw what was Meghan foreseeing.
Wanted more and more of it.
Mandela wanted more for a transgenerational change. So he was willing to stoop up until he conquered. Now, if Meghan had seen herself, in my opinion, and this is strong. Now, so that is the thing. Did Meghan see herself as, I am in this palace for such a time as this to change a narrative? I may take some beatings for it, but I will come out stronger. I will not give up until I win on this matter. I will push.
She did, though.
I will stop. I will push for how long?
She won at the end of the day.
For how? She won at the She won with the book. No, okay, she won with the book, but then there's no palace.
We're going on a break now. We can continue. Because we have another guest. Because she's there. So we'll go on a break now. Please do stay with us. We'll be right back. We want to welcome Amaka. Amaka, author of many books. You should come and be counseling us here in Nigeria. So good to see you. We've been arguing back and forth over this Harry and Meghan issue. And my take is...
Yes, I heard.
Harry and Meghan, for instance, they made over 100 million deals with Netflix to produce a series of documentaries, docu-series, scripted shows, feature films, and what have you. Harry himself even got a $16 million down payment for his book Spare. Experts predict that their net worth could reach $1 billion unless their popularity dwindles. In my case, I want to ask, isn't this a tad hypocritical? To complain about the same family without whose name you would never have made these monies in the first place. Some can even go as calling it exploitation. So what is your take on that?
Honestly, before I go into that, I just want to say that what has always beggared the imagination for me in this whole scenario is that everybody talks about what they should have done, how they should have done it, and whether they should have done it. But somehow the beginning of it, whatever caused it to ever happen, is never looked at. Yes, they are a member of the he is a member of the most famous family in the world. But I've always found it strange that nobody talks about the before they talk about the after. So I'm just going to put that right out there. And then when it comes to whether it's hypocritical, benefiting off the same family who you say did you so wrong, my take on it is they are a member of that family. People say, he is a member of that family. People say, how come you're now profiting off the name? But it is his name.
Yeah, but
he is a member of that
name he doesn't
family.
want to have. He doesn't want to have anything to do with family anymore.
No. I'm not sure. Correct me. No,
I'm saying that Harry chose not to have anything to do with the royal families anymore.
Did he really? What he said, what he called out was certain behavior that he did not like, certain behavior he felt towards himself that he did not like.
Yeah, but they willingly left the royal family.
Handled the situation.
They chose to stop working for the royal family.
But what does leave?
They chose to stop working. They chose to stop
their
royal duties. They chose to stop working for the royal family and decided to go on their own.
Okay.
And they also wanted to keep the royal titles.
A person going on their own, does it?
No, my point is,
you see, we're all on the outside looking in. I'm not saying they didn't, but we're all on the outside looking in. Do you understand?
But you have chosen to dissociate from these royal families. So why can't you start your life on your own terms? Without necessarily going back.
Okay, so let's look at what starting life on their own terms means. And I'm not even necessarily completely pro them, but I'd really like it to be looked at objectively. When you say start their life on their own terms, let's really look at that statement. My life is my life. No matter how much I want to divorce myself from my family, the fact remains that it cannot really be divorced. I can make that effort to move away for my own personal reasons or whatever I feel has been done to me, but I am still a person of that family. The things that happen to me in that family and the essence of who a person is still that family. So when they say start life on their own terms, the name is the name. Let's even say the titles were relinquished. What, he should work with McDonald's or what should he really do? The fact is who you are is who you are.
Okay,
absolutely.
So
your story is your story.
That's what I'm saying, Amaka. So after you said this story, what next? After you said this story, what next? Because that is what they're selling now. They're selling the story. So after you said this story, what next?
Your life
What's
continues.
the next thing for you to
only
do?
time will tell. But only time will tell. Only time will tell, because the truth of the matter, this is who they are, or who he is. This is the family he's from. He cannot, even if he changed his name to John White tomorrow, it's still going to be connected to that. So yes, maybe he hasn't thought long term. How many of us do? Maybe he shouldn't have reacted so precipitately. But many of us do act this way when things happen. He wasn't a mental health expert. He's not some kind of major coach or something who knew what to do when what hit him. Things hit people and they react differently. One can question why he reacted the way he reacted. But also, one must question the stories that were put out.
One more question for you before we go back to the studio. I mean, I agree with you. The spectrum of opinions from right to wrong or from wrong to right is very wide. And, everyone has their own opinion and their own beliefs. But do you believe Harry had a personal right to reveal what may be considered family secrets in his recent memoir, The Haunting of Prince Harry? And what role do you believe Meghan played in his revelations?
Okay, what I will say is some family secrets let me put it this way. Revealing things about your family really should be sacrosanct. But you see, one has to be true to their own self. We don't know what the pain was he went through. One can judge whether he should have, but one cannot know what he was walking through in order for him to do that. One does not know what happened behind the scenes, whether he tried other ways and it didn't work. None of us know, but that is what he chose to do. So if you ask me the question, should one hang all the dirty linen of their family out there? Absolutely not. However, there are going to be circumstances where you've maybe chosen to do things differently and it didn't work out. And for your own peace of mind and mental health, you decide that this is the best way to do it for you. It might not be right, but it is the best way to do it for you. There was a second question you asked me, which I've missed. So that's what I'll say. Yeah. Should he have aired everything?
What role do you believe Meghan played?
The jury is out on that.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe it's his marriage
that was
to
the
Meghan?
Second question.
Right.
Thank you very much. I don't know because I'm not in it, but I do know, especially in our neck of the woods, that there is a narrative where the wife is blamed for everything. In our neck of the woods, where the wife is blamed for everything, you see it constantly. Even in my capacity as a counselor, family members will say the wife made the person do this or do that. We can't say. Could she have maybe helped him through and said, don't do this or don't do that? Possibly. But we also have to look at if she said it, did he listen? Many of us who have been married for many years know that men don't always listen to what you say. So the constant vilifying of her without actual evidence that she pushed him to do what he did, it may well be that she did, but nobody knows this conclusively. So the fact that everybody says she made him do it, it's immediately she came in the family that this happened, I don't think anybody is in a position to state that categorically or vilify her for it.
Amaka, the truth of the matter is that Meghan is somewhat perceived as a bit of a narcissist. I'm sorry to be the devil's advocate here. But she's perceived to be a bit of a narcissist.
I agree, but people have different opinions on that. Some people say that about her.
That we cannot be one-sided. We have to say from both angles, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I agree. Absolutely. No, I agree with that.
That's what I'm saying. Let me land.
True.
Some believe that she had an influence on Harry to prove to him either towards the positive side of reconciling with his family or focus on the negative side of being victimized by the press. This same press that you hate so much, that you said was the cause of your mother's death, that you resented with venom, is the same press that you are patronizing to get your stories across. So there's a bit of a double standard here. You hate them so much, but when they are useful to you, you use them as and when needed. So there are people who feel...
Well, I don't know how...
No, wait, Amaka, please. There are people who feel that Meghan should have used her position as a woman of color, should have had, what's that word that you use? Should have had resilience to a certain extent. I'm not saying that, it's not for my place to say, oh, she should have suffered for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. But my point is, both sides of the coin have their own issues and have their own flaws. It's not a one-sided...
Absolutely.
It's not a one-sided and one-size-fits-all kind of situation. Do you understand?
Kind of thing.
So you cannot but ignore the fact that this issue has been monetized. And plenty of money.
But she's allowed to, do you not believe?
Nobody's saying she's not allowed to. Right. I'm just saying
but she shouldn't
that
be vilified for it.
You cannot monetize a situation that you feel has worked against you for so long.
She should genuinely say that's what worked against her for so long.
No, but they've been unhappy about the situation.
And this is why they relocated and started their life.
All well and good. But did they relocate their lives and start business independent of the royal family? They did not.
Bet during the break, what was the bet during the break?
Sorry?
I think you said Meghan would leave Harry.
Well,
for certain.
I'm not wishing them
because
ill.
of this.
I'm not wishing them ill. I'm just saying I would not be surprised if the relationship does not have long-standing past.
So you see, if I may interject here, is it okay to just come in here?
Yes,
I think this is why probably in our old African culture there were such things as investigations into the family you are marrying into. I know, yes, with all popular Western culture, marry for love, there's a limit to which love can sustain you when you marry into a kind of marriage.
Okay.
Love is great, but it's just the foundation. There are many things you need to know. I can't love you so much and marry you, I'm SS, you're SS. I can't love you so much. Right. So in the same way, I'm marrying into a family. What are the dynamics of that family? What role do I have to play
I think a lot of
in
people
that
miss
family?
that part.
No, I'm sorry.
How would you-
What
it's
do
a
I-
very
no, so
important
hold on.
You have
part.
to research very
You
critically.
have to research what
Yes.
is required to be a wife to a royal. What
Yes.
is required to be, because as a wife to a royal, I am a royal. So what is required now, even that, beyond that, I'm not even British.
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
pure white,
Right,
quote
right.
and unquote. What would it take to be a woman of color in a British household? What do I need to do? What's my tactic? What do I want the end result to be?
Yeah, this is why marriage
So
counseling
those
is
are the
important.
things that you think about before you just jump in. Oh, I saw someone that I love.
Right.
He's a king.
Because most people, when they're in
we
love,
get in.
they're just thinking,
So-
next stage
No,
is
hello,
marriage.
she wasn't
So that
They're
is
thinking
it.
of
So
the
she
research
can't step. She
of the
steps
family
into
background.
it.
She wasn't
That
a
means
21-year-old lovesick teenager. She was
had been married
38.
before, true.
Exactly. So
Exactly.
maturity comes in.
So where's the point of, okay, what is the goal? Is the goal just to marry a royal and have children, or just to marry a man I
Maybe
love?
that's-
What is the long term of getting married to this man? Where do I see myself with him? Where are we going to? How can I help him change this narrative? What is even my narrative? What are my own traumas? Have I dealt with them? What are his? He's probably, I'm sure when they were dating, he must have told her about what he went through with his mother.
Is it 5 years later? They
Is
are
it-
happily married.
I mean,
they have 2 children.
And then they begin to, because if they don't take care, the same traumas they go through, they're going to transfer it. So how well have I healed from my trauma before I get into a relationship? How well has the person I am getting entangled with healed from their trauma before we now come together and begin to traumatize each other or become victims to ourselves?
But do you
or
believe
victims
they are
to
being
society?
very happy? Do you think they are genuinely happy?
Now everything,
Well, they probably
we
are.
all
Their
thought they were
family
happy.
now,
and
which
what they
is
feel.
living in-
Well, we all thought they were happy, and we only see, it's only what they show us on TV.
Amaka, let's get Amaka in.
Right?
Amaka,
Yeah.
are you here with us?
Yes.
Okay, so you can see that the,
Yes, I'm hearing,
the
but what
debate
I'm
is
try- what I-
going back and
what-
forth. What's your take on all of what we're discussing so far?
No. What I want to say is, yes, they should have looked at the end term goals. Yes, they should have. She should have thought about, what do I want to achieve? What happens in marriage? But this is the thing. All of us do that. In this day and age, what is happening with marriages? That's my area. The fact that we don't look at those long-term things, I guess because they're public figures, they're held to a higher standard. But for all of us take on things, and especially in marriage, where you don't really look at the deep things about it and realize that it's not just all about love. So maybe she didn't do the due diligence. Possibly she didn't, but then she didn't. And many people
But I
don't.
want- I want to
So
ask you
I guess
something.
maybe
Many
it's
people
different.
don't.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Finish. Are you done? Because I wanted to ask you something.
Yes.
Now, when it
No,
comes to
yeah,
this,
so that's what I'm saying. So it's, yes, go ahead.
when it comes to this unconditional love and sacrifices that you make because of the person that you're in love with and the relationship, I cannot but ask as well, because like I said, I'm not so anti-Meghan. I'm just in the middle. I'm not anti or for. But I remember Prince Charles himself was involved in a controversial relationship. He was in love with a woman whilst he was married and she was married. So he was unfaithful to his wife. So it was a controversial relationship. Then there was Prince Edward, who abdicated the throne for the love of his life. So one would have thought that Charles, having won these shoes before, would be more compassionate about Harry's plight and a lot more understanding. So as much as I don't really agree with everything that Meghan has done or Harry and Meghan has done, I also feel that Charles himself should have been a bit more understanding. He has worn those shoes before, dating the most hated woman in Britain at a certain time. So what do you think he should have done?
Yes.
What do you think Charles should have done more for Harry?
Remember, we've not heard from Charles.
Go ahead.
I actually agree with you. I think Harry should have gotten more help. I'm not, again, I keep saying I'm not on the inside, because I heard mention that Harry should have known where the family he came from. He should have behaved a certain way. You know, some people actually train up their children. We even see in our country where you need to marry from a particular place. You need to marry from a particular people. And I'm not saying it's right, but indoctrinate their children in that way. Tell them what is expected of them. Maybe William fits the mold, but somehow Harry doesn't. And one must look at the question, or it begs the question, why?
Okay.
Why was he not raised in this mold? Was it just that he was a renegade and he just kind of, even though he kind of turned away, and Meghan had the power to indoctrinate him to turn away? Or was he ever really given the help he needs?
Okay.
We don't know.
Okay.
But these are things that have to be looked at, because he did do an about turn.
Okay, Amaka, we're going to go to a break in a minute. We haven't.
I've finished, yes.
Let's bring this matter home. Make we leave Harry and Meghan. Let's bring it home to Nigeria. So we're going on a break now, and please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Perspective. See you in the moment. As usual, we're arguing about this Meghan and Harry thing. I just believe that Meghan could have better handled it, no matter how much attack she got from the press. She should have done her survey, studied the family she was getting into. It's not a normal family. It's the most famous family in the world. So you should have done better research and maybe be a bit more resilient. But like I said, let's leave Meghan and Harry.
She made a mistake.
Well,
forgive her.
Well, if you want to call it that.
It's just a cost of the mistake now.
I just hope it's not a too high a price.
A few years down the line.
Few years down the line. Let me bring it back home. There was an incident, for instance. I want to ask you, when it comes to how much should be revealed within family, or family secrets should be revealed within families. There was an incident of a young lad who was a son of a former president.
Okay.
And he left his wife. And the reason he left his wife was that he accused the wife's father and his own father of probably being the father of the two children.
Oh, wow.
I remember at that time it was a huge scandal. But in this kind of situation, even if it were true, we don't have any evidence of, is it not a bit much? Because it would affect the children.
Just to be sure we understand, you're saying the
was
husband's
accusing
father
husband
and his
and his
father-in-law
would be the father and father-in-law.
of his
But my
children.
point is that in that, if he had come to you with that kind of situation, what would you have advised him to do? Because I'm thinking these things will affect these children for years to come.
Absolutely.
So where do you draw the line when it comes to revealing family secrets sometimes?
So the question I will always ask is, what is the purpose of the revelation? Is it to feed itchy ears or to actually resolve a situation? If it is to resolve a situation, then you have to think of, because many times what we do when we go public is we feed itchy ears that are looking for how to drown themselves in other people's businesses and forget about their own
Even when
sufferings.
the revelation of the secret is worse than keeping it?
So the thing, when you say worse than keeping it out, in Revelation, and there was an example I gave that if we are in a system, if there's a system or a society where you know that you can get judgment for revelation, then that's a different case. Where in the revelation, you get more traumatized. Let me use an example. Let's go back to Meghan and Harry.
Okay.
In the revelation, what exactly has changed significantly? What has been impacted? Because if the change is to ensure, because there are other children growing in a royal family, George and his siblings are there. In the interest of those children, what do we need to change now? How do I need to comport myself so that what I have gone through, they don't go through? So this thing of my happiness, no individual is in life to live for their happiness. We're in life for transgenerational benefit. So for every time we are making a choice, we are looking for what to change in the better interest of someone else. Particularly when we go through things in life.
When it's compromising his happiness?
When we make compromising his happiness, what is happiness? Happiness is relative.
If it's going to cause him to go into depression?
This depression thing that we're talking about, we can choose ourselves. I believe we can choose ourselves. There are different things that can get us into depression. There are different situations that can put us in that place where depression is when you are in that, when it's a constant state of being unhappy, of being frustrated. How else can you re-engage? What are the options of connecting with people, of building better relationship?
Sometimes make depression sounds like it's a choice.
Depression
is not a choice.
So depression is not a choice. Depression can be a choice, in my opinion.
How?
When I say depression can be a choice, is because
the decisions you make can lead to it.
One of the most powerful things that I believe God gave us as humans is the power of choice. The choice say, no, this far, no further. I will do something.
Yeah, but I think
I will arise.
choosing happiness.
It is choosing.
Choosing
now,
your happiness.
Choosing happiness. What does happiness mean?
situation.
So we now have to be able to, when say, I choose me, I choose happiness. What does happiness look like?
I'm sure
what does me look like?
Running away from
running
depression.
away to what? We are running away from something, but have we defined what we're running to?
I'm sure a lot of people like that. They like to know or like to believe that they can choose to be happy. But there are some situations that are so dire that it really takes counseling for you to even begin able to choose that path. Is what I'm saying. Yeah. Let me give you another scenario. There was somebody I know as well who lived in America with her children, and because she was working, her father had to take care of the kids. Then she noticed that one of the daughters, every time she used to fight in school, she only fought boys. And every time she fought them, she went for their nether regions. So she couldn't understand that why are you fighting boys? And then even if you're fighting boys, why is it that particular area you're gunning for? After much talking, she found out that her father was sexually molesting this child. Typical Nigerian family, they spoke about it. Father denies it. Mother denies it. Family now ostracizes her.
That father should be incarcerated first.
Now, till he died, he never admitted.
So he never admitted, the family knew.
My question now in that kind of situation is that for a mother, you might choose that, look, you know what, I'm going to think positive. I'm going to stay happy. But how can you get over the agony of that knowledge?
Absolutely.
And in that kind of situation,
Honestly.
she should have been kept as a family secret.
So the thing now is, can we get to the point where nobody prays for anything of such, but can I visit you in prison as my husband for having done that to my daughter? Can I come out and say, because we're not talking about the trauma. For example, she's already going at men's privates. We cannot, you don't know the level of trauma she's now going to go through because of what he did. Now, the need to find closure sometimes, or he should apologize. Some people may never give us closure. We may have to be the ones to arise and choose our own choice, choose our own way of escape. However, we have to be able to, if we have a justice system, another thing that works is to say, a justice system that works, let the father go in for it. So let him serve the time.
How many families want to do that?
So because we rather cover and nurse it. And then even when people speak, you hear such things like, I went through it, I didn't talk, why should you talk? And this is a typical scenario of what happened in coming to America, right? In coming to America, it was like, this is our tradition.
I want to ask Amaka a similar question. Can we have Amaka back on board? Amaka, are you there? Amaka, you just heard now what Stephanie is saying.
Yes, I
wanted to ask you another pertinent question.
I heard.
You have women that either are married to another man, and then you now have stepfathers. And in situations like this, you also have stepfathers that sleep with their daughters, their stepdaughters, and the women now hide it. Some say that they hide it because they want to protect the child and so that she will not be perceived as damaged goods. So in this situation, as a mother, the wife to the stepfather, and the mother of the child, which is more important? Protecting your child's image for in case he wants to get married in future, or calling the man to justice? Which do you think is more important? Can you hear me?
Some of these things, the answer can never be. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Some of these things, the answer is never this or that. The answer may well be this and that. And it cannot be a one-size-fits-all. For instance, in a case like this, without knowing the rest of the details, I think the man should be called out. Because one of the questions I wanted to ask when we were talking about this was, when one says expose family secrets, what is one really talking about? What does expose family secrets mean? Come on Perspectives and say it, go on some kind of blog and say it, announce it to the whole world. What does exposing family secrets really mean? We have to identify what that is, because if it's go on the blogs, go to the television, go and say it, then it may give one pause. One has to think about it. But where there's an actual criminal offense going on, you understand, and you're going through it the right way. Sadly, in our neck of the woods, sometimes that's difficult. Should you call it out? It's criminal behavior. And so you hide it for the sake of the child as much as you can. I understand that there's an argument for that. But sometimes, a lot of times, at least in movies and even from counseling, you find that the fact that child's reality or truth was not prioritized over the wider exposing it in the family, can even affect the child even worse. For instance, if it was attempted murder, for instance, or if you find that he stabbed the child, but the child didn't die, what would you then do about it? And some of these things are just because in our neck of the woods, the stigma of rape, the stigma of such a things, maybe some of these narratives have to change. And the more people come out and say it, I know a young girl that was raped who just came out and said it. And she's married today. She has 2 children. So these narratives over time have to change. And the only way they're going to change are when things are called out. And some people may be collateral damage from that. So what have I said? I've said 1, what does a reveal family secrets mean? Where? I agree with I believe the young other lady that spoke, that it's important that you have the reason why you're doing it. But some things must be called out.
Thank you so much, Amaka.
And the truth is, yes.
Thank you so much, Amaka. I wish we had a lot more time to discuss this. Don't worry, I will call you. You can continue from where we stopped. But thank you so much, Amaka. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for all your boisterous, very vibrant opinions. You understand, regardless of whether or not we agree with you. Thank you so much for being with us today on Perspective. Now, family is supposed to be our safe haven. But sadly, sometimes it's the place where we find the deepest heartaches. Feeling betrayed by a family member is painful and sometimes unforgivable because a conflict is never about the surface issue. It's about the ones unsaid, untreated, and unhealed wounds. Keeping your family together is an extraordinary feat, especially in the face of great conflict. You're born into your family, no returns, no exchanges. And if there's any way to salvage the relationship, you owe it to yourself to give it a try before you inhale the future and exhale the past. And never forget, life is always and has always been a learning curve. That's all we have time for today. You've been watching Perspective here on Arise News with me, Ruth Osime.
And with me, Olatorera Majekodunmi-Oniru. The bond that unites many families simultaneously progresses them when undiluted with shocking secrets. The blatant truth is that healthy families do not need to keep secrets, although everyone is entitled to a certain level of privacy. Will you take your secrets to your grave or strategically reveal them? The choice of honesty is all yours. The secret to many happy families is individual wholesomeness that creates collective wholesomeness. And the key to a better world remains humanity. Our world needs a much stronger dosage of healthy love, care, and compassion. Thank you for watching Perspective. Thank you to our special guests for joining us today. Have a great weekend and see you all soon. Goodbye.